For the record, I am Gary Nodler, representing the people of the 32nd Senatorial District, presenting for your consideration Senate Bill 587. You should have a committee substitute. The difference between the substitute and the original bill is a clarification that the commission members, if the people of the state establish this commission, will serve without compensation, and that any reimbursement for reasonable and necessary expenses shall be subject to appropriation. It also requires that the administrative support for the commission be provided from the existing resources of the governor, the legislature, and the Supreme Court, the Judiciary. As you all know, there has been an increasing interest around the country in the question and the issue of state sovereignty and federal infringement. And there are lots of resolutions expressing dissatisfaction with the federal government in a number of states. And my thought was that rather than to just sort of jump up and down and shout and scream and make noise about our level of dissatisfaction, that if indeed the federal government has intruded on areas that are properly the purview of the state, that we ought to be able to get that into a federal court and test it and have the question resolved in the federal court system. This bill would create a referendum where the people of the state could, if they chose, establish a state sovereignty commission. It would be comprised of 7 members. The reason for that number is obviously to create the capacity for a majority vote on the commission. There would be 2 members appointed by the governor, 2 by the President Pro Tem of the Senate, 2 by the Speaker of the House, and 1 by the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court. And this commission would meet annually, and if it determined that the federal government had exceeded its authority in any area, that conclusion would be referred to the Attorney General of the state for the purpose of filing suit in the federal court. We have the power as a state to challenge federal actions in the federal court now. The Attorney General has the authority, as we sit here tonight, to initiate a lawsuit in this area. What we don't have is a mechanism by which the state can reasonably find a cause. And while it's an imperfect analogy, I would say that this is somewhat analogous to a grand jury, to meet and find out whether or not there is a reason to believe that the federal government has exceeded its authority, and then if that conclusion is drawn, to refer that to the Attorney General for action. The difference, of course, is this would be an open public meeting rather than a secret private meeting. But I have gotten some copies of letters of objection to this bill where there's somehow a leap in logic, and the objectors have already concluded what the findings of the commission would be and the areas where the commission would erroneously conclude that the federal government has acted beyond its scope, and the mischief that would be caused if a federal court happened to agree with the charge by the state that the federal government had exceeded its authority. But I think this is a simple, really relatively simple notion. We permit the people, if they choose to create a mechanism where there's a reasonable assessment of federal action and a conscious attempt to conclude whether or not the federal government has overstepped its bounds